Hi, third graders. Welcome back. Yesterday, we talked about those mic drop endings, right? When we get to the conclusion, the last part of our power organizer, the ending, it's the last thing our audience is going to read from us. And we really want to leave a good impression with them. We want to knock their socks off. There are some things that we said you should not do, right? You don't want to just say the end or goodbye. And because this is a personal narrative that has a turning point, remember your job is to teach your reader a lesson about your life experience. So at the bottom here, right, I wrote a couple of lessons. And what I'm going to ask you to do is pause this video. You may have a grown-up help you with this to write these down. I want you to have this in your notebook because we're going to continue to add to these mic drop endings all year when we do third grade writing. The first kind of ending that we're talking about is learning a lesson. So my examples at the bottom say, we learned that when we work together, we can accomplish anything. That is something after they've read everything, that's what you want your reader to take away. Maybe you say something like, I learned a valuable lesson that day. Never forget to wear your helmet. I bet you can tell what that story was about, right? Somebody did something without a helmet, probably didn't turn out very well. They want you to learn something different. They want you to wear a helmet because of what they experienced. So if we were in the classroom, this kind of a chart would be hanging on our wall. We're going to add to it, like I said. I want to make sure you take some time and you jot this information down. Again, you may have a grown-up help you write it down so that you can finish it, all right? So go ahead and pause the video, and then we're going to move on to today's topic. All right, so today we're going to talk a little bit about showing and not telling, okay? A lot of times writers just tell us things, tell us information, like about how they feel or about where they are, and it's not very interesting. So we want the writer to be able to show us instead of just telling us. So I'm going to read a story for you today. I want you to look at this one. It's called The Perfect Spot. Hopefully my light will get fixed there just a second. I want you to read that with me, okay? So you follow along. It says, cold, wet sand surrounded my feet on all sides with each step I took. The cool breeze wafted the scent of musty salt beneath my nose. I continued my walk down the coast as I scanned the beach for the perfect spot. My eyes trailed over flip-flops, small colorful shovels and buckets, assortments of beach towels and giant sun hats. I stopped for a second, noticing an empty area in the sand. Walking quickly in that direction with my beach bag weighing down my arm, I was too slow. I observed as a man, woman, and two kids came barreling down from the boardwalk. They stopped in the area I spotted and heaved a pile of beach chairs and sand toys onto the ground in relief. I threw back my head in frustration and continued my trek down the beach. My eyes continued to comb the beach for a clearing in the sand. Sweat began to roll down my forehead and disappear behind my ear. I also noticed a few squawking seagull friends that joined me in my stroll and looked at me like I should throw them a snack. I started to worry that there were no areas left on the beach to carry out my much anticipated plan. Suddenly, I saw a blue flying saucer soaring toward my face. My head darted left and then right, trying to avoid it. I just lucked out as it skimmed my head. As I let reality set in about the situation, I heard a boy call out, "Hey, mister, can you throw me my frisbee? That was awesome the way you dodged it." "Huh? Oh, sure," I mumbled, and then spied the blue frisbee as it laid on the ground in front of me. I picked it up and purposely threw it back with some speed that almost knocked the kid off his feet as he caught it. I shot him a thumbs up and continued on my way. I felt hopeless and watched as a tiny sand crab scurried across my path. My bag was like a sack of potatoes sprawled over my shoulder, when at last I spied what could be the groundwork for my little plan. I walked down a bit further. The sand clumped between my toes to survey the area. The closest people were about a dozen yards away. The clearing of sand was huge and there was plenty of room to work with. Do you know what he's going to do? The sand was saturated, soggy, and moldable. Saturated means it's full of water. The smile spread across my face as I let out a long sigh. I dropped my bag, claiming the area for myself, and unpacked my bag. I unloaded my heavy-duty garden shovel and my carving tool, as well as a few buckets of different sizes. I had my spot, my tools, and I was ready to build the best sandcastle this beach had ever witnessed. So in this story, this writer is showing us things, not just telling us, right? Talking about how when he almost got hit in the head with the frisbee, right? His head darted one direction and then the other, right? You can picture that in your head. It's kind of bobbing back and forth. You can talk about when he's walking in the sand. He talks about it clumping between his toes, right? He doesn't just say, I was walking in the sand and it got in my feet, right? He shows us. You can picture what that might be like in your mind. So I want you to go back into your writing today, and I want you to think about ways you can show your readers how you feel. Let me turn off my light, see if that helps a little bit. Okay, how you feel. So instead of saying something like, it was hot, which it probably was, you could say something like, sweat dripped down my forehead and my clothes clung to my sticky legs. Can you picture that? Must have been really hot, right? How about this one? I was hungry. Instead of saying that, you could say something like, my stomach growled and my mouth watered as I thought about eating. Right? You want to be really descriptive and show your reader so they feel like they're there. Don't say I was sad. Show them by saying something like, my shoulders dropped and I blinked back tears. Don't just say I was happy. Remember, we've talked about kindergartners, first graders. They can write that. But third graders can write a lot better. They could say something like, I jumped up from my seat and a smile spread across my entire face. These are ways you can tell, right? But these are ways you can show how you feel. How about showing readers where you are in your story? Okay, instead of saying I was in the kitchen, ooh, the smell of onion made my eyes water. The sound of the water bubbling in the pot and the timer beeping made my stomach growl. So remember, they were hungry. We knew that. Now we know they're in the kitchen because that's where these things take place. Ooh, maybe you're in a car in your story. Instead of telling us that, if you say something like, my seatbelt clicked into place just as the engine came to life. I could hear my parents discussing the shortest route and the upbeat music on the radio. So you're still letting us know you're in the car, but you're describing it, explaining where you are instead of just telling us. It's much more interesting. Ooh, how about this one? I went to the beach. Say, I listened to the waves crash and breathed in the salty air. The sand was soft between my toes. So remember, as a good writer, you want to show your audience, right? You don't want to tell them. You want to describe things. See if you can go back into your writing, okay? And when you have a particular feeling, see if you can change it from showing or from telling them to showing them. Same thing, right? If you are kind of talking about a place that you are in your story, instead of telling us where you were, describe it and show it to us so that we can have a really good picture in our mind. Okay, that's your job today, is to go back into your writing and find some spots where you can show instead of just tell.